Her toothbrush was gone, the green one with the bent bristles she swore she liked that way. It had been there that morning, I swear it had. I'd even knocked it into the sink reaching for my razor. I remember because I cursed at it, loudly. But by 8:42 p.m., it was gone. Not moved, not replaced, not swapped for a new one. Gone. Do you know how disorienting that is? You live with someone long enough, and the stupidest little objects become emotional landmines. A toothbrush, a single sock, a hair tie left on the windowsill, tiny echoes of intimacy. And when they vanish, it's like someone deleted a sentence from a book you've already read 10 times. She told me she needed a weekend to realign her spirit. Her words, not mine. Said she was heading out to this little lakeside town about 3 hours north. Claimed she'd found it on a blog that specialized in solo soul adventures, which is definitely code for, I want to cheat in peace, but I didn't know that then. She didn't say it with anger, no drama, just a calm, practiced cadence, like she was reading a script. It's just for the weekend. I'm not running away. I'm just checking in with myself. She even smiled, like I was supposed to feel proud of her for finding herself. So I helped her pack. I folded her sweater. I made her a sandwich. I filled her gas tank, because I'm that kind of idiot. The first night she was gone, I opened the fridge and realized she took her oat milk. Not all the groceries, not her leftovers. Just the oat milk. She couldn't let me have that. She'd rather go 2 days without coffee than let me use her non-dairy creamer. Do you realize how deranged that is? I laughed out loud. One of those weird, desperate laughs that echoes in a too quiet kitchen. And that's when I knew I wasn't dealing with someone who needed space. I was dealing with someone who wanted permission to disappear. I didn't look through her phone. I didn't call her friends. I didn't even try to track her location, though I could have. Instead, I sat on the couch and watched 4 straight hours of aquarium live streams. I don't even like fish, but I like the silence. And the water never left. Then I got the text, from an unknown number, no name, just this. She says she'll call you Sunday. Don't make it harder than it has to be. No punctuation, no introduction, no explanation. And that's when it all clicked. She wasn't away. She was already gone. I stared at the message for a full 2 minutes before my brain even caught up. You ever see words that your eyes understand, but your mind just refuses to process? That was me, sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in one hand, heart in the other. I read it again. She says she'll call you Sunday. Don't make it harder than it has to be. No name, no emoji, not even a typo. It was like a ransom note for my sanity. At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke, maybe one of her friends messing with me. But none of them even liked me, and none of them had my number. They always texted her and told her to pass it on. So, I did the only thing a spineless, lovesick idiot would do. I texted back. Who is this? Nothing. Is Maribel okay? Still nothing. I swear if you heard her, I'll... Delivered. Read. No reply. Now, I want to say I kept my cool, that I just breathed, turned off my phone, and waited like a rational adult. But no. I tore through the house like a man possessed. I checked every closet, every drawer, every corner of the garage. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. A clue? A footprint? A receipt with some stranger's name on it? I ended up standing in the middle of our kitchen, staring at the empty coffee mug she'd left behind. The one I washed that morning out of habit. I hadn't noticed it before, but there was something off. The handle was facing the wrong way. It always faced left. Maribel was left-handed, and that mug was her daily ritual. It sat the same way every day for years. But now, it was turned right. I know how it sounds, but when you live with someone that long, you know these things. You notice what no one else would, like how she always left the butter dish slightly ajar, or how she never touched the last slice of bread in the bag. She called it bread guilt. That mug wasn't just moved, it had been used. So I walked over and looked closer, and that's when I saw the second toothbrush, under the sink, tucked behind the bleach spray, new, still damp. It wasn't mine, and it wasn't hers. I didn't sleep that night. I laid on the couch with the lights off, gripping a baseball bat like some suburban version of a war hero. I don't even play baseball, but it was the only object in the house that felt remotely like defense. I kept hearing phantom footsteps, floorboards creaking from memory, like the house itself was replaying a scene I'd missed. Around 3 a.m., I checked the security cam app on my phone. We had one camera out front, Cheap model, nothing fancy. I scrubbed through the footage from earlier that day. Nothing for a while. Then, around 1:10 p.m., someone walked up to our front door. Hoodie, sunglasses, hands in pockets. He didn't knock, didn't look around. He used a key. Let himself in. Stayed for 23 minutes, walked out without looking back, got into my car, the spare, the one I hadn't driven in 2 months, and then disappeared down the street like he belonged there. I don't know what scared me more, that a stranger had entered my house like it was his own, or that Maribel had given him the key. I didn't leave the house all Saturday. I couldn't. It felt like every room was quietly judging me, like the walls had seen something I hadn't, and now they were just waiting for me to put it together. I sat in the kitchen for hours, door wide open, just in case she walked through it and told me this was all some elaborate test of trust, some performance art experiment she picked up from a podcast I'd never heard of. But deep down, I knew. No one was coming home, not the version I remembered anyway. Her call finally came around 4:22 p.m. My phone lit up with her name like it had hundreds of times before, but this time, it didn't feel warm. It felt like a trap. I almost didn't answer. I almost let it ring out, like maybe denying her the satisfaction of my voice would be some microscopic victory. But I was too weak, too curious. I needed to hear her, even if it broke me. The second I picked up, I knew something was off. Her voice? It wasn't hers. I mean, technically it was, sure. Same vocal cords, same tone. But it lacked that micro tremor she always had when she was nervous. The small catch in her throat when she didn't know how to start a sentence. The breath before the laugh. Gone. She sounded scripted, not robotic, just too polished. Like she'd rehearsed this conversation in front of a mirror until it no longer meant anything. She said hi like we were old friends. Like we hadn't slept beside each other for 6 years. She asked how I was. I told her not to pretend. She sighed like I was being unreasonable. I just needed time, Elliot, she said. Time doesn't involve other people in my house, I snapped back. There was silence, not stunned silence, calculated, deliberate. You weren't supposed to see that, she finally said. What does that even mean? It means this wasn't how I wanted it to happen. And there it was. Confirmation, no denial. No excuses, just vague guilt. The kind that lets people sleep at night because they admitted they were wrong, without ever doing anything to fix it. She didn't tell me who he was, didn't offer his name. Only that he understands me in a way you don't. I asked her if she loved him. She said she didn't know. I asked if she still loved me. She hesitated, then said, I love who you used to be. I swear something cracked inside me. Not shattered, cracked. Like a hairline fracture in a windshield that starts small but will spiderweb if you don't fix it. I didn't yell, I didn't beg. I asked her one final question. Did he come into our house before? Another pause, shorter this time. Once. The call ended shortly after. I don't even remember how. It felt like I blinked and the call log was already saved. I sat in the kitchen for a long time, staring at the sink. Her favorite knife was missing. Not one I used. A paring knife. Small, sharp, sentimental somehow. She'd found it at a flea market 3 years ago and said it felt like poetry in the hand. It was gone. And that's when it truly hit me. She hadn't left impulsively. She'd been planning this. Not just the affair, the exit, the extraction, the handoff of the life we built. Like I was an apartment lease she'd been waiting to break. I looked around and realized how many little things were missing. Her backup charger, the journal she kept by the bed, the weird pebble she kept in her coat pocket like a charm. The house wasn't empty, but it had been edited, and the edits were so clean I almost didn't notice. It's incredible the kind of truth people leave behind without realizing it. Maribel thought she'd scrubbed her tracks. The texts were deleted. No notes, no shared locations. Even her browser history was wiped, which was funny because she used to mock me for having 16 tabs open just to check the weather. But she forgot one thing. Our cars sync everything. Saturday night, after she called, if you can even call that empty, calculated monologue a call, I sat in the garage staring at the backup car, the old Ford. It was technically hers, but I was the one who maintained it. Changed the oil. Cleared the tires. She hadn't driven it in months. We both knew that. She had her shiny new crossover now, the one we bought because she said she wanted to feel safer in traffic. But that Friday, he had left in the Ford. My Ford. I'd seen it on the footage. What she didn't realize is that this car still had the dash cam card in it. I installed it a year ago after someone rear-ended me at a four-way stop and tried to blame me. She never liked it. Said it made her feel like we were living in a cop show. I never turned it off. The moment I plugged the SD card into my laptop, I could feel the pressure building behind my eyes, like my brain already knew something I hadn't let myself accept yet. The footage wasn't high quality, but it was clear enough. He got in like he belonged there. He adjusted the seat. He knew where the mirror release was. He didn't fumble, didn't hesitate. He even reached over and tapped the screen to mute the radio, like he'd done it a dozen times. He drove confidently, not away from the house, through the neighborhood, slowly, casually, like he wanted to be seen but not recognized, like he was doing a loop to see if anyone noticed the car was moving. I scrubbed ahead. 28 minutes into the drive, they pulled over at a gas station off Route 17. She got in the passenger seat. My stomach turned so hard I thought I might throw up on the keyboard. They didn't kiss, they didn't touch. But the silence between them, it was so intimate. He handed her a granola bar. She smiled. It was the kind of exchange you only have with someone who's memorized the way your silence works, someone who's spent nights mapping the rhythm of your breath. And just when I thought I'd reached my limit, she took off her hoodie, and underneath it, she was wearing my college sweatshirt, the one she always said made me look like a tired camp counselor. She used to steal it from me when she was sick, or when we fought. It was her way of softening the distance. Now she was wearing it with him. I don't know how long I sat there watching that loop. I kept rewinding it, looking for signs, for anything, hoping maybe it wasn't what it looked like, that she'd been kidnapped, coerced, anything but this banal, cooperative betrayal. But every frame told the same story. She left willingly, comfortably, strategically. Eventually, I noticed something strange. At the 15-minute mark, just before he picked her up, he stopped near a large storage unit facility, one of those gated places with numbered garages and code pads. The camera caught the name on the side of the building in a blur, Bluebird Lockaway. I paused the frame and stared. Maribel had never mentioned a storage unit. I opened our banking app and scrolled. Nothing obvious, no recurring charges, no checks. But then I remembered, last fall, she'd insisted we get one of those reloadable prepaid Visa cards for emergencies. Said it would be smart to have something unlinked to our main account in case we were ever hacked. At the time, it made sense. Now, I felt like I'd co-signed my own erasure. I dug through our drawer and found the card. Still there. I checked the number online. It had been used at Bluebird Lockaway 3 months in a row. She hadn't just been planning to leave. She'd been storing a second life. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark with the Ford keys in one hand and the dash cam still looping on my laptop. I kept thinking about the sweatshirt, about the paring knife, about the toothbrush, about how betrayal doesn't always happen in screaming matches or slamming doors. Sometimes it's gentle, almost tender. Sometimes it wears your clothes and smiles at someone else. It took me 2 days to build the nerve. I told myself I was just gathering information, that I had a right to know, that after 6 years of shared groceries, shared rent, shared grief, and shared toothbrush drawers, I was entitled to at least this. But really, I think I just wanted to see proof that she was gone. Physical proof. Something I could touch, something real to hold up when my brain started gaslighting itself into believing maybe I was overreacting. Bluebird Lockaway was tucked into one of those weird industrial zones just off the interstate, half truck depots, half forgotten furniture showrooms. The kind of place that always smells faintly like hot plastic and wet pavement no matter the weather. I drove out there on a Tuesday morning, thinking it'd be quiet. It was. Too quiet. I parked far from the office and pulled my hoodie low over my face like I was about to rob the place. I didn't even know if the card she used would still work on the keypad, but I tried it anyway. Code 0721, her birthday. The gate beeped once and rolled open. That sound will haunt me. I didn't know what unit number was hers, but I had the dash cam footage. I'd memorized the angle, the curve in the road, the mural on the neighboring warehouse wall. I walked that row like a man tracing footprints in the snow, half expecting someone to yell at me, call security, drag me back to my car. But no one came. I reached Unit 119, red sticker on the side, slight rust on the bottom lip. It was the one. And to my absolute shock, it was unlocked. No padlock, no chain. Just a closed door, the latch loosely hooked, but not secured, almost like someone had been here recently and meant to return. I opened it slowly. No horror movie jump scare, no bats, just the soft sound of stale air sighing into daylight. Inside, it looked like a half-finished version of someone's life. There were 3 clear storage bins, a standing lamp with no bulb, 2 suitcases, a folded mattress leaning against the wall, and a cardboard wardrobe box duct-taped shut. One of the plastic bins had a label written in her handwriting, "Clothes, cold weather." I opened it and found sweaters I hadn't seen in a year, the green one with the missing button, the oversized blue hoodie she used to sleep in when she had migraines, a pair of boots she told me she'd lost at a concert, all of it carefully folded, preserved. The second bin held photographs, printed ones. That alone stunned me. Who even prints photos anymore? But there they were, in neat little stacks held together by twine. Not of us, not family, not even her dog growing up. Just places, empty cabins, parking lots, beach cliffs. Every photo had a date written on the back and a number, like coordinates, like she'd been logging something. The third bin was locked with a tiny luggage latch. I picked it open with a house key. Inside were notebooks. Not journals, these were precise. Indexed, tabbed. She had titled them Exit Plans, Phase 1, Reintegration Forecasts, East Coast, Travel Cover Stories, Verified, Daily Alibis, Q3. I swear, my legs almost gave out right there on the concrete. This wasn't just preparation, this was strategy. Military-level detail. Every interaction we'd had for the past 6 months, every appointment, every girls' night, every errand, it was all accounted for. Planned. Timed. Cross-referenced with locations. Her handwriting filled the pages like spider webs. Tiny arrows. Charts. Annotations in red pen that said things like, no contact window, August 1st to August 5th. Risk of suspicion increases after 72 hours. Tested his reaction to forgotten anniversary. Low threat. Keep Elliot emotionally placated. Limit conflict. Avoid guilt triggers. I had to sit down. I was sweating and freezing at the same time. My name was written in those pages like I was part of a case study. A variable in a long experiment to prove how long it would take before I noticed she was already gone. And then I found it, tucked in the bottom, between the notebooks and an envelope labeled Emergency Plan B. A phone, powered off. I turned it on. No passcode. One contact saved, R. One photo on the lock screen, Maribel smiling, not at me, at him. I turned it off. I left the unit exactly as I found it. Didn't take anything, didn't move a thing. Just closed the door, latched it loose like before, and walked out in a fog that didn't lift all the way home. She hadn't just wanted out. She'd rehearsed my heartbreak in advance. I didn't sleep the night after visiting the storage unit, not even a pretend nap. My body just refused. I lay there with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun its lazy circles like it was mocking me. I couldn't stop thinking about those notebooks, about the way she wrote my name without feeling, about how I was categorized. I was no longer her partner, her husband, her person. I was just a piece in her design, an element she had to manage. So I started wondering if she had so carefully designed my descent into irrelevance, what would happen if I stepped off the path she built for me? What if I stopped reacting and started interfering? The idea came to me around 5:30 a.m., when the light outside turned that dull gray-blue color that makes everything look like a crime scene. I brewed coffee, black, the way she hated. I stood in the kitchen watching the machine hiss and gurgle like an old man clearing his throat. And I thought, she's still watching. Not physically, maybe, but emotionally. She's banking on me to stay broken. Predictable. She needed me stunned and paralyzed, because that was part of the safety net she built into her exit phase. She wrote it down in her own hand, keep Elliot emotionally placated. So, I drove back to the unit. It was still early. Bluebird Lockaway doesn't officially open until 9 a.m., but with the passcode, I could get in any time. I parked in the same spot, this time further from the cameras. I didn't look around, didn't hesitate. I moved like someone who belonged there. It's amazing how easy it is to disappear when you act like you're supposed to be invisible. Unit 119 was just as I left it. Latch unhooked, no new lock. I opened it. The air felt heavier now, like the things inside knew I was back. I stepped in and carefully peeled a page from one of the spiral notebooks she had used for her timelines. On the back, I wrote just 8 words. No salutation, no punctuation. Just this: I know more than you think I do. I didn't sign it. I didn't leave it on top. I slid it between 2 layers of folded sweaters, right under that green one with the missing button. Buried, but not hidden. It would take her a moment to find, just long enough to jolt her, just short enough to stop her from thinking she still controlled the narrative. But I didn't stop there. I used the prepaid card she bought, the one she thought was untraceable, and rented the unit right next to hers. Unit 118. It was empty. Dusty. Concrete floor. Bare walls. Nothing but the hum of distant fluorescent lights and a loose ceiling tile that flapped when the wind moved just right. I stood in there for almost half an hour, imagining what it would feel like to sit in silence while she opened 119. What her face would do when she found the note. Whether she'd freeze, panic, dismiss it as paranoia. Whether she'd tell him. Whether she'd come back alone the next time or not come back at all. Then I set up a folding chair, just one, and a notebook of my own. I labeled it Observation Log, Phase 1, because if she could plan an exit from our marriage like it was a military operation, then I could plan my infiltration the same way. I wasn't going to scream, or confront, or burn it all down, like some movie scene with broken dishes and loud apologies. Number I was going to document, watch, undermine, quietly. She wanted to be the architect of my erasure. I'd become the ghost in her new foundation. On my way out, I stopped at the front office. There was an older guy there, chewing a muffin like it had wronged him. I asked casually if I could upgrade to a unit with climate control, told him I was storing artwork. He offered me a clipboard and asked my name. I gave him a fake one, Rowan, just to see what that did to the universe. It happened on a Thursday, 4 days after I left the note. I hadn't gone back yet, not in person anyway. I'd been watching instead. I'd mounted a pinhole camera behind one of the old shelving brackets in Unit 118, drilled through just enough to catch the top corner of 119's interior when its door opened. It was crude, yes, but it worked, and it was motion activated. Every time she came back, I'd know. The alert hit my phone at 3:11 p.m. I was in the middle of washing dishes. I dropped a glass, didn't even hear it shatter. I opened the feed. For a moment, it was only static, then blur, and then her. Mary Bell. Same oversized tote bag, same sunglasses, even though the unit was dark. Her movements were slower now, less confident. She scanned the unit before stepping inside, like she expected something to be different. I watched her hesitate. She looked at the bins but didn't touch them immediately. Instead, she walked over to the wardrobe box, the one I hadn't opened. She unzipped it halfway, stared inside, then zipped it back up. Then she turned around and crouched beside the sweaters. My heart slammed so hard I thought I might black out. She was reaching for the green one. I had wedged the note beneath it, nestled between 2 folds, not obvious, not buried. She paused with her hand hovering above the fabric, then lifted the sweater, stared down, froze. She didn't open the note. She just looked at it, like it was radioactive, like by touching it, she'd confirmed the one thing she'd worked so hard to avoid, my awareness. She took the paper with 2 fingers, opened it like it might bite, read it once, then again. And for the first time since this all began, I saw her react. The corner of her mouth twitched, her breathing changed, her shoulders pulled in. But before she could even speak, he appeared. Rowan. I knew it was him. He walked in like he owned oxygen. Tall, clean-cut, carrying 2 iced coffees like this was just another afternoon chore. He leaned into the doorway and said something I couldn't hear. She didn't respond immediately. She folded the note in half, slowly, and slid it into her bag. She didn't tell him. Instead, she turned to the bins and grabbed the one filled with photographs, the one with the coordinates, the records. She motioned to him. He helped her carry it out. Together, they closed the unit. She didn't look back. Neither of them did. The whole interaction lasted 6 minutes, but it might as well have been a year. They were walking away with part of the archive. She was tightening her escape route. She didn't want to erase the note. I realized that too late. She wanted to erase the evidence that led to the note, the places, the logs. She was covering her tracks in real time, and now she knew I had been inside her architecture. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't even sit. I stood in the middle of Unit 118, staring through the hole like it would reopen the moment I blinked. I kept thinking about her silence, her choice not to confront it. That scared me more than if she'd screamed. It meant she was adapting, evolving. This wasn't about leaving anymore. This was about winning. And I realized something else. Rowan didn't know. She hadn't told him about the note, or the storage unit being compromised. That meant she still wanted control of both narratives, the one with him and the one with me. He was her escape, I was her enemy, and she was playing both sides as if the truth was just another variable to delay. So, I made my next move. I printed one of the photos from her archive, an image of a cliffside marked 714 on the back. I folded it neatly into a blank envelope and wrote 4 words. How long has he known? Then I drove to their apartment. Yes, there. Because after some light online cross-referencing, her new Instagram handle had an untagged mirror selfie with a familiar entryway tile pattern. I traced it back to a rental listing 3 neighborhoods away. Quiet building, gated lot, 2nd floor. I waited until 2 a.m., slipped the envelope under their door, and walked away without looking back. She'd get it. He might too. Maybe it would crack something open, maybe it wouldn't. But I wasn't trying to scare her anymore. I was trying to make her guess, to feel what I'd felt, to watch the threads slip from her fingers one by one. She thought I was shattered. She hadn't realized I'd started rebuilding. Not myself, not yet. But something new. Something she couldn't write a chart for. It was raining the day I saw her again. Not dramatic movie-style rain. Just a cold, steady drizzle that made the sidewalks look bruised and the air smell like wet metal. I hadn't planned to see her. I was actually just walking past the bookstore near her old pottery studio, trying to avoid the cafe where I once waited 3 hours for her to show up on our anniversary. She never did, and then there she was. Mary Bell, standing by the window inside the store, holding a book she probably wouldn't buy. Wearing that same oversized scarf she used to complain made her look like a wandering poet. Her hair was shorter now, shoulders more tense. She looked diminished. Not broken, not unwell, just smaller than I remembered, as if something about her had unraveled and never quite knitted itself back together. She saw me through the glass. I don't know what I expected. Panic, guilt, maybe even anger. But instead, she gave the smallest nod, like a reflex. Like the kind of acknowledgement you give a stranger you used to know. And in that moment, I realized something both devastating and freeing. We had no unfinished business. She had made her choice. I had survived it. There was nothing left to chase. No justice to be served. No revenge to be had. Just space and silence. And the strange calm of being done. I didn't go inside. I didn't wave. I didn't even slow my pace. I walked. I walked all the way home, through the rain, through the same streets that used to feel like chapters from a shared story. And with every step, I felt something heavy fall off me that I didn't even know I'd been carrying. Rage, maybe, or shame, or the version of myself who couldn't imagine life without her. When I got home, I did something wild, something small. I made dinner, for myself, an actual meal, not leftovers, not takeout. I lit a candle, played a record, sat at the table like I was worth sitting with. I didn't check the camera feed from the storage unit. I didn't reread the notebooks. I didn't revisit the past. That night, I slept. Not just lay still, slept. Deep, dreamless, solid sleep. The kind that doesn't fear the next morning. It's been 3 months since then. I canceled the lease on Unit 118, deleted the fake name from the registry, threw out the burner phone I used to track her movements. Not out of weakness, but because that part of my life no longer deserves space in my head, my home, or my story. I started going to therapy, voluntarily, not the sad kind either. The kind where you actually begin to untangle yourself from patterns, from guilt, from the noise that convinces you you're always the one being left. Turns out, I'm not. Sometimes people just go. Not because you're unworthy. Not because you're boring. Sometimes they go because they were never planning to stay in the first place. They just didn't know how to leave without making you small first. But you don't have to stay small. You can leave too. Not the house, not the city, but the wreckage. You can leave the version of yourself that waited and worried and begged, and you can build something better. Quietly, like a new habit. If you're reading this, and you're still in the middle of the storm, I swear it clears. Not all at once, not dramatically, but piece by piece, the weight loosens. One day, you'll wake up and realize you haven't checked their feed in weeks. One day, you'll make dinner, and it won't feel like survival. It'll feel like living. One day, someone will look at you, really look at you, and they'll stay. Not because you earned it, but because this time, they were already built for staying. And so were you.